Good morning, everyone. April 29th, day number 17 of Furloughed, and let's talk today about sending cards to get graded and what my preferences are from the big three. But before we begin, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate it. But hey, let's talk about grading, but more importantly, let's talk about mail days. And we all love getting mail days. And it's something that I actually have not had in probably 3 weeks now almost. I have $9 in eBay bucks that are expiring, I think, in about 3 days. Every time I log into eBay to ship out an order, I am greeted by the message of, hey, your money's expiring in 5 days, in 4 days. So I'm debating on if I should buy a card or not. I've been very financially responsible since I have been furloughed. I have not purchased a card. I've purchased a few things at Lowe's, as you all know, following the video series. But I'm deciding on if I should try to pick up an inexpensive polar bear card for my set to use the $9 and maybe spend about $10 extra. So we'll see, but I think it's funny when it comes to the fact that I got $9. I can't really buy a card for $9, but that fits into my personal collection. I just don't want to spend the money to spend the money, but we'll see. But hey, let's talk about grading, and let's talk about what I as a consumer prefer to, or as far as who I prefer to send what cards to from the big three. And the big three are PSA, BGS, and SGC. And I'll be very clear here. This is not an investment strategy video. This is not teaching you which cards to send to what company. This is about what I prefer as a collector, and then what I prefer as a just from the visual perspective. And if you listen to the video from the video about the transcendent cut auto, I'm a very visual collector. I'm a very visual person, and to me, if the visual is not right in the card, I just don't want it. I don't want to collect it. So I figured I would talk a little bit more about grading, because there's a lot of visual aspect to grading that I think are missed at times. So let's get to the first one up, and let's go to PSA. So when it comes to grading, I look at cards 3 different ways, and I break them into 3 different categories. I break them up into pre-war, modern/vintage, any kind of paper card, regardless of if it's 1960 or 2010. If it's paper, I look at it at its own category. And then Chrome, to me, also has its own category. Chrome is so distinct in the modern game, it's not the same as a modern paper card. So when it comes to PSA, I have it ranked out 3, 2, 1. And so let's look at number 3 on my PSA list, and that is Chrome cards in a PSA holder. When it comes to the PSA label, the paper red border label, I just prefer to have paper cards in that holder. So for example, here you have a Chrome card, which I'm just not a fan of the look of Chrome in a paper holder. And I say paper holder based strictly on the label. What I prefer is something like this. This is a Mariners team card. It's a 1978 card. It's a paper card in a PSA label. I think that looks really, really sharp. And now my number one card in a PSA label, along with the paper perspective, it's pre-war. And I think pre-war, from the perspective of the set registry system, is just second to none on PSA. Now, me personally buying, I prefer to buy SGC graded pre-war over PSA. It saves me a few dollars, but I prefer the look of SGC overall in pre-war. But when it comes to the set registry, I would stick with PSA. If you're looking to build up that reputation, go with PSA for pre-war. But in general, any paper card should go to PSA. Now let's take a look at Beckett. And Beckett, in my 3, 2, 1 scale, Beckett number 3, something I would never send to Beckett, or I guess Beckett vintage grading, is pre-war. Pre-war cards, to me, visually look terrible in a BGS or BVS holder. I'm not even sure what the initials are for Beckett vintage. And then secondarily, they're not going to command a premium on the market. You know, if you have a Beckett 9.5 Beckett 10 modern Chrome card, that's going to command a premium. Beckett card, a pre-war card in a vintage holder for Beckett, it's just the demand is not going to be there. So when it comes to pre-war, I would never send it to Beckett. I also don't actually even own any Beckett vintage cards, so I can't even show you one. But now on number 2 for Beckett are paper cards. Now, I typically shy away from paper cards in Beckett holders for one reason. and that is the label at the top. That's a shiny gold label. I think that looks the best in Chrome cards. Now, for example, you have the Omar Quintanilla right here from '05, the paper version. It looks good. It doesn't look as good as this. And when you're looking at Chrome cards in a BGS holder, I think they just look top notch. So we have the Nick Neidert 9.5 gold label auto from 2005. I think that looks really, really sharp when it comes to the gold label and the Chrome card. I think they work well together. So if I were sending in Chrome cards to get graded, I would go with Beckett. And my last grading order from 2018 Topps Chrome update was Chrome cards. So if I were you, I would stick with Chrome with Beckett. Now, the one thing I don't like about Beckett, and here's an example of a BGS 9 for Nick Neidert, is when it's not 9.5, the color, the label color changes. I just don't like that. I wish they would keep it similar, just like PSA does. I understand the black labels. I understand the gold labels. I just wish that for Beckett perspective, they would have the same color label all the way across the board. There is obviously a different price difference in 9s and 9.5s, but I think it even becomes more dramatic because it's a silver label versus a gold label. So those are my thoughts on Beckett, but if I were you, if I was sending in Chrome cards, I would send them to Beckett. So we've talked about PSA, we've talked about BGS. Now let's look at my personal favorite grading company, but one that is not the favorite worldwide when you look at my 3-2-1 scale. So when you look at my number one grading company, that's SGC, and it's for very, very simple reasons. But on number 3, what I would not send to SGC are Chrome cards, and that is simply because the market hasn't picked up on SGC and modern Chrome cards. The demand is there on BGS, the demand is there for PSA. But if you look at the sale differences of Chrome cards and SGC labels, they're just not there. So if I had a Chrome card, I would not send it to SGC. What I would, though, send to SGC are paper cards. And paper cards regardless of the year. So whether you have full-size cards or you have pre-war cards, I would send them to SGC. Number 1, the black label, the black paper border, I think is fantastic. So you have the football card here from '79 with Roy Jarella. I think that looks really, really good. Secondarily, you have the pre-war cards in an SGC holder. To me, pre-war should go in SGC if you're not going after the PSA state registry. I have taken PSA cards and moved them over to SGC, especially in my OBAC cards, but I think SGC is the best for paper cards in general. So when it comes to any year. So if I were you, if I was sending in a paper card for grading, I would send it to SGC. So you watched the video and you might be a little confused because I said to send paper cards to both, and we can't send the same card to both companies at the same time. But here's how to break it down. If I were going after the set registry and going after that sort of realm of the collector universe, I would go with PSA when it comes to paper cards, whether it be pre-war or modern paper cards. If you're going for the visual look, which is what I like the most in my collection, is the visual look, is I would go with SGC for paper cards because of the black frame, the black paper in the frame. So I think you can take paper either way, but I think it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for the quick flip, I would go with PSA. If you're looking for the visual perspective, I would go with SGC. You can make an argument that pre-war can go either way. There's not a difference in either one of them, but I would think on the modern side, from a flip perspective, I would go with PSA as of now. And then with Chrome cards, go with Beckett. I think Beckett is the industry standard and the number one company out there when it comes to the look of Chrome in my mind, to the gold, shiny labels, and we all know as a collector, we love to get black labels. That's a very, very cool thing to have happen. I have never had a gold label. I've had a couple 10s come back, but not pristine. So thanks guys for watching the video. Good luck grading out there. Great luck collecting, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.